Welcome to episode 28 of Venti Questions, the show with friends, coffee, and conversation. My name's Michael.
And I'm Chris. And tonight we're going to talk about AI, artificial intelligence.
That's right.
What are the different types of artificial intelligence? I don't know. We'll find out, right? And then how far along are we in society to become artificially intelligent?
Obviously, we're not artificially intelligent yet, but if you want to find out what things are, make sure you listen to all the way to the end.
Hardly intelligent. So, Michael, what's new with you?
Well, the absolute newest thing with me is I was just sick. And I know that sounds like super lame, but it's the first time I've been sick in probably like a year, which is, like, yay for me.
Yeah.
And it was the strangest sickness that I've had in probably like 4 or 5 years. So I woke up one morning and I felt like that, oh no, I'm getting sick, like in your upper chest, like that respiratory stuff.
Sure.
And sure enough, I lasted like 3 or 4 more hours. And then my body was just like, no, you're going to go to sleep now. Okay.
You sleep.
Yes. So I took some meds, and for the next 24 hours, I just had like this horrible fever. I couldn't get rid of it. For the longest time, I was just like, I'm just going to sweat it out, So I'm a big believer in that, like, your body is reacting for a reason.
Sure.
If you can stomach the discomfort, allow it to do what it's doing.
Sure.
The medication does help with things, but I feel like it also makes things take a little bit longer. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for literally like a whole day, I was just like dying, and it sucked. And then I was like, I need to sleep. So I went and got some NyQuil. It didn't knock me out like it normally does, which is also weird.
That's strange.
Because usually NyQuil, like if I smell it, I'm like, you know what I mean? But no, it helped. Like I didn't feel as bad and everything like that, but didn't really knock me out like I was expecting. And the strangest thing, like I said, is I now have a cough. So if I cough tonight, I apologize. But that didn't show up until like a weekend.
Yeah, strange.
My throat wasn't sore. Only thing that was happening was I was a little ditzy, right? So like my brain was just a little bit off.
So nothing new.
Right. Av. And, and so, I was super, super tired, and like, I just felt like flu symptoms, like super achy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was pretty much it. I didn't have to blow my nose. I didn't have a runny nose. I didn't have any like throat issues. And those are the things I typically get. Usually I have upper respiratory infections like crazy and all that kind of stuff. So I was very concerned about that. But no, it beat me down for like a week and a half.
Just lethargia, right?
Yeah. And then whenever I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm good. I'm going to go out and drive, or I'm going to go out and do this or go do that. That amount of like sensory intake just once again wiped me out. And I'm like, okay, I need to go back home now. And so, I caught up a little bit on some of like our editing stuff and was able to play around with a couple of things like that. I played a lot of Teamfight Tactics because it was a perfect game to play, where it was like, cool, it takes like 30 minutes. And now I need to take a nap.
Yeah. Tough, man. COVID's a really tough thing.
It wasn't COVID. You want me to get COVID so bad?
No, I just find it funny because everything's COVID now. So someone, it's probably COVID. It's probably a different strand. That's what you hear from everyone now. It's pretty funny.
I don't. To me, like I said, it was unique for me because of my symptoms, but it's almost like the polar opposite of every symptom that I'm typically hearing about for COVID.
But in all fairness to the cliche, oh, it's a different strand. It is different than it was when it first came out.
That's fair. That is fair.
Now it's just people get really lethargic and cult-like symptoms.
Yeah. The worst part, absolute worst part, I was freaking freezing cold for like 4 days.
Freaking freezing in here.
I don't get cold in this state. The kid was loving it. She gave me so much crap. I love my daughter to death, but give her an opportunity to be around me when I'm not at my best, and she's just going to be jumping and clicking her heels. She loved it. She was like, now you know how I feel all the time, Dad. And I'm like, shut up.
Does Daddy have the shivers?
Yeah. Oh, she was giving it to me. And I'm like, I respect you right now, but I don't like you.
That's funny.
Oh, it was horrible. But yeah, that was, as lame as it is, that was pretty much all that was up with me. So what was new with you?
I just read a lot of books. I finished the Mistborn trilogy, the first 3 books.
Oh, okay.
Brandon Sanderson. So I think I just got through the first one, and I talked about that, and I was starting to read the second one, but then I got through the second one and third one. And then I started on another series called Red Rising, or the book Red Rising. Finished that one. Mm-hmm. And that one is by Pierce Brown, I believe. Now, funny enough.
Yeah, that was the one that I didn't like the exterior book branding.
So interesting.
Like the, episode 4 or 5.
More on that. The first, it was a trilogy. So the first 3 were the same, basically. And then, but the next 3, if you look at the hardback editions, all the hardback, it's the same spine kind of type thing, and it fits, and it's a different symbol on the bottom of each one too. It aligns better.
It's just the paperback.
I'm gonna get the hardback.
Well, yeah.
So here's the thing, and it's kind of been a little bit of an obsession. Yes, I've been reading a lot. So I'm on the second book of that series, the Red Rising series, which I like it. I think it's really good. But I've also been purchasing future reads, and I've been getting a lot of the hardbacks. So I purchased the 4 books in the Stormlight archive, which is another Brandon Sanderson.
I remember hearing about that when I was looking into like what are like the fantasy
epic fantasy novels.
Yes. What is it called when it's a grouping of books?
Saga.
That's what I was thinking.
Saga,
thinking of, yes.
He's calling them archive, right? In this, but yes, it's a saga. But series.
Series. That's the word I was actually looking for. Yeah, but because you know me, I don't like a one shot, because to me, then I'm like, oh, that was amazing. What do you mean there's not more?
Right.
I'd rather not finish it because there's so many than finish it prematurely.
You'll probably go for this perhaps once he finishes his initiative, which is going to be, I think, a 10-book series,
right?
Where the first 5 books is going to be with these characters that you know, and then it's going to have some type of conclusion for those character arcs, and then it's going to jump into the future, similar to how he's doing with the Mistborn,
right?
And then it's going to be the same world, but just referencing events from the past, but with new characters in the future type thing for the last 5 books, is from what I gather.
Okay.
But anyway, I got the hardbacks for that.
You got
those are hefty books.
I didn't realize you got the hardback.
Yeah, cool. I'll show you later. But so I have all of those. So I kind of went on a little purchase spree with the different series, fantasy series stuff. This is a guy I'm talking to you, and you know this. I'm not someone who has ever read or cared about fantasy, story or anything like that. And now I'm into it. So I got some recommendations. I also bought the trilogy by Scott Lynch. It's actually good. There's more books coming out, but he's taking forever. But it's Lies of Locke Lamora.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then the 2 other books, I'm spacing on the title for them.
Gosh, I own
something in the Red Sea, whatever it is.
Read something.
Yeah.
I've only read the first one, and then the first like 3 or 4 chapters of the second one.
Right.
The second one was harder for me to get into because
it's a different. It's like the pirate type theme or something like that. From what I hear.
Eventually,
yeah.
Yes, I haven't even gotten to that.
Oh, got it.
The problem is like it leads you down a path. And so you're waiting to find out like, oh, what's the next step for these characters? And it's like, oh yeah, forget about those guys.
Right.
And you're just like, when do they come back?
Right.
Yeah, that was really difficult. But the first one,
yeah,
awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I'm gonna get into that. So I have a bunch of them, and then the King Killer Chronicles, which
wow, you just want to read series that are never gonna get finished.
Exactly, because he's been trying. I guess that's very famous for him not
Patrick Roth
finishing.
Yes. Roth.
I'm trying to remember his last name too. I can't.
Gosh, I love the guy.
Those are coming in the mail tomorrow.
So
Sunday.
I've only read the first of the King Chronicles. King Killer Chronicles.
About 10 years old or so.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I will not read the second one
until there's more.
Right, because what I've been told is that a lot of people's opinion is that he wrote himself somewhat into a corner in the second book, and
that's why he's taking so long.
That's why he's having some issues.
It's the typical, and a lot of authors, you see this too. He has a picture of like a stack and like the actual manuscript.
Oh, right.
And like, oh, it's done. It's just revising, kind of thing. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's tough.
He's a really big D&D guy too.
Is he?
Also,
I'm sure a lot of them are.
He is a humanitarian.
Interesting.
He has a couple of different charities that he like created and operates. I forget what it is. Basically, I forget the details is what I'm saying. But basically, what it is that his charity is like a world builders or something like that, and basically they teach people in third world countries how to raise and care for like chickens.
Oh, cool. Interesting.
And then because of that, they now have a way to make money by selling the eggs and then also making more chickens to then continue. And then they teach people and then they teach people. And it's a really cool like thing. And,
teaching them farming.
Yeah,
right?
literally. And it's all about like that. Like I think one of those things is like one of the donations I remember was like, buy him a goat.
Sure.
And that was like the donation was like towards for every X amount of money things equals a goat.
Right.
I think it's like World Builders Association because it has something to do with.
I think
like,
I've heard this. Yes. Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I said, I really, really like him, and that's why I'm so angry that I can't remember how to say his last name.
I mean, we can pull it up.
I know. I will in a minute. It's all good. But no, I really do like him, and I like the first book. The first book is awesome.
Yeah. So there's 2 books, and then there's a graphic novel, like novella, which I purchased all of those just to get that. I purchased those knowing that I'm probably going to read those last out of all the ones I purchased, knowing that we're still waiting for more books to come out. Now I do want to mention this back to Pierce Brown, author of the Red Rising series. Red Rising was his first book, and it's his first series, and it's pretty good. And he keeps writing them, and he's not. There are a lot of these fantasy authors that they will write their big projects. Well, maybe it's not fair to compare, but like Sanderson, Brandon Sanderson, he's a machine. He can just put out books. He takes a break from writing a book just to write a book.
Right.
And like, he just keeps producing, and he teaches literature classes, and he teaches it's like all he does is write. And I don't know how he keeps it all together and how he links everything, but it's very vast. He's talented.
Right.
But he had this Pierce Brown guy. I just happened to stumble upon, that, and then realize, oh, okay, this is all. I looked for other things that he was written. I'm like, okay, so this is basically it.
Oh, this is
so far it's what he's got going on. I mean, he's 35 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
that's not depressing. Okay.
I know. It's like, oh, here it has.
Sweet.
5 books to his name, that's and awesome. Another one coming out, and then probably one more after that. So yeah.
Cool. Patrick Rothfuss.
Rothfuss. Okay.
Yeah. It's Rothfuss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There it is. So yeah, reading has been a passion that I picked back up, and I've gone through phases, but fantasy is the new thing for me, and it is a great escape. It's all the things I already knew that once I started into it, I would be hooked.
Yeah.
This is why I never got into it, mind you, because you can just get lost in it. But here I am. I said the heck with it.
I want you to read The Inheritance Cycle.
Yes, that's in the cart as well.
Good,
yeah.
Because that is my favorite book series of like all time. And I want you to be able to like know the characters I'm talking about. Because I've talked to you before about Aragon's brother,
Sure.
Rowan Stronghammer, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's it's always cool when you have like the super powered hero type character, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's just a freaking dude.
Yeah.
And it's just like, he's just a dude that's a blacksmith, so he's strong.
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
And it's just like, oh yeah, he's fighting gods and giants and shit. And he's just like,
yep.
Bam.
Yeah.
Oh. So yeah, no, you would really like it too. It's good because it's like, awesome. Yes.
Right.
Like that last one, you're like, oh my God, this is so heavy.
It's funny because it's Harry Potter scaled the same way, where it's like here, then it just starts growing to the last book. So
the Harry Potter series, like the book wise, like page count and everything like that, it was just like, just make more books.
Right.
Like stop trying to cram everything into your one book per year system.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't read them, mind you, so I do have to say that.
Oh, yeah,
my wife loves them, and she's read them.
I've read each one at least twice, and it was so long.
But that was the you said first series where you physically read, right?
Yeah.
Because
I didn't like reading at all.
Sure.
And I had to do 3 book reports in 8th grade. In like a certain amount of time. And my sister got the first Harry Potter book for me at like that Scholastic book fair thing.
Yeah.
For my nieces at their like elementary school.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, here, you can read this one. And I'm just like, thanks. I would have found out some way to do like some dumb sports thing that like was a 30 by 30 on my like Michael Jordan. So I could have just like faked it. You know what I mean? That's totally what I would have done. And I just remember that the hardest thing for me for Harry Potter was the first like 3 chapters. It took me like almost a month to read those first 3 chapters because it is so boring.
It typically takes a few chapters for me to like get into the book, because you got to try to like immerse yourself into the story and the universe and all that. I will say with the Red Rising, it took literally maybe 1-2 chapters.
Really?
The first chapter was like, all right, where are they going with this? Oh, these are some weird names, But then
like the hardest part.
But then it just picked up with like, okay, I kind of like this guy. Oh, I kind of see where this is going. And then it's like, oh, that happened. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. That sucks. It's tragedy. And then it's like the motivation. You got the motivation for the series pretty early on.
Right.
Where they built enough where you cared about the character and you cared about the experience between this character and then their significant other. And then you got the motivation of why he's doing what he's doing. So it's like, it happened pretty quick, pretty fast into it. It captures you.
The one thing I will say as a positive to the Inheritance Cycle is because of the fact that your main character is like a no-name hick that doesn't know nothing about the world. It's so great.
It's great writing because then you're learning through as he's learning.
And because it's such a slow progression thing, like I'm not spoiling anything by saying like, when he gets his dragon, obviously he has a dragon.
That's the whole point. Yeah.
She doesn't know anything either.
Yeah.
And so they're both just a couple of bumbling idiots walking through the world. And so it's so nice because you're able to relate so quickly because you're like, you don't know anything? I don't know anything. Hey.
Right. You're learning together and then you're informing the reader at the same time. And that's the narrative. And that's very intelligent.
Not only that, but then also they get to really tell you some great lies.
Oh, that's cool.
That's the coolest thing I found out from multiple series where it's like that is if you, the reader and the main character doesn't know anything, you don't know when other characters are lying to you.
So is it first person narrative? Do you remember? The Red Rising is you're following first person view of Darrow, the main character.
It's mostly it's okay. It's difficult to explain because yes, no, because there's a symbiotic conversation, like merge between a dragon rider and its dragon.
Sure.
So at certain points, it's not first person because it's two people.
Yeah, okay.
And then eventually in other books, Aragon's over here. And then we don't talk about him for 3 chapters because we're all about Rowan.
Got it.
And then we don't hear about Rowan for like 3 more chapters because now Aragon's important. And then the chick, we like find out what's going on over here, but like we don't. It usually stays in like the mind of the character, and there's a little bit of a narrative. Not narrative, sorry. Narration of like a situation, but usually more of just like, if it would have been a movie, nobody would be talking. You would just see it.
Right, sure.
If that, I don't know how you would. I'm not smart when it comes to like the structures.
The structures.
Not smart, yeah. But yeah.
Okay. It's like a third person perspective.
It's like, if you're in a fight scene, right?
Right.
You're going to get
someone is describing it.
Someone's describing it because nobody's talking.
Right. It's like my fist went through the thing. It's
right.
More like his fist went through and like
as he dove underneath here.
Right.
And
That's
then it jumps back into first person to tell you what he's thinking about.
Sure.
Kind of like,
but maybe in italics or something.
Yeah. Sure. Think like Sherlock Holmes, Robert Downey Jr., the fight.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. That's it, man. Yeah, that's what I've been to.
Well, we are drinking a unique little coffee tonight.
It's little.
It is. It's twiny. It's a little sixer. So the company is Apocalypse Coffee Roasters. The location just gives us a street address with no state, so I don't know. The coffee name itself is Uprising. It is a whole bean. The flavor notes that says on the bag itself were bold, toffee, and cocoa. I agree with some of that.
Yeah.
The branding itself is actually really cool. It's a little robot. And then it has some binary underneath it, and it's supposed to be like a, AI revolution uprising.
Yeah. Kind of appropriate, isn't it?
Yeah. It's almost like, every week that we do one of these things, I kind of like get it to coexist.
Yeah. Clever, ain't it?
Right.
Bugs Bunny.
But overall, it's a unique one. We obviously did a tasting for it, which you can check out on the YouTube channel if you so desire. But I would say that overall, it is a upper mid quality coffee if you enjoy your coffee black.
Yeah.
And if you only enjoy coffee with cream and sugar, maybe try a different coffee.
Yeah,
it's not the best.
I will say it's better cooled off. I agree with you.
Which is not cold, mind you, but like
drinking it room temperature, I guess you can say, and it's pretty good that way. It's not too bad. Yeah.
I did enjoy it when it was just the coffee itself, but the cream and sugar did kind of mess it up for me.
Yeah.
But in its defense, and I'm being very polite here, maybe it's just because of the whole milk and I'm still getting over the sickness thing. I don't know.
I don't know. If you watch the coffee review, he smells like Campbell chicken star noodle soup. So
yeah, I don't know what's up with that. But that's honestly what I smelled. I don't know. It was unique even to me. So, but yeah, so like I said, if you're interested to know more in depth about our ratings on that, make sure you check out the coffee tasting on the YouTubes.
Yeah.
All right. So today, for a little fun, gamey type situation, I just have a few questions for you that have to do with AI.
All right.
So it's just some would you rather type situations. And it's not like our typical would you rather. It's more like, hey, what do you think about this?
Okay.
So when you're in a grocery store, are you the kind of person that would prefer to go to a cashier or check out your own stuff?
It depends on the store.
Okay.
I did that today. I went to CVS.
They have check yourself out at CVS. I feel like that's just rife with saying, rob me, or steal, not rob, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. No one's around the counter anymore at the particular one I go to. So I'm like,
they never
all right.
were there to begin with.
I'm like, okay. So I did it and it was fine. I'm slowly adapting to the self-checkout. I don't like it. If I have an option to go to a human being, I'm going to go to the human being. But there are moments where I will do. And it, once again, I think it depends on the store. It depends on like the layout. If I have to like be ushered by a person to one, it bothers me. I'd rather just walk up myself.
Yes.
And have that flexibility and option. I don't want to wait in a line just for a machine, I guess is my point.
Here's my thing. If I'm at Walmart, I have not gone to a cashier in a Walmart in probably like 5 years.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, because their cashiers suck.
Yeah.
I don't care if I have 100 things in my cart or 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take an hour.
Right.
So I am exclusively a self-checkout person there. But if I'm at Publix, I don't want to do it myself.
Can you?
Certain Publixes now they are.
Really?
Yeah, the nicer ones.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I would think they would do a self-checkout one by customer service for like the person who's coming in for like 3 or 4 items or whatever it is.
Yes, that would make sense. But everyone that I've been to that is like that, it's one of the ones that has the customer service like in the middle circle thing.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
And then right behind that, where it used to be like the 10 items or less thing, there's like 2 or 3 self-checkout lanes right there. So there is a person like standing there.
Similar to Walmart. Yeah.
Behind the customer service desk.
Oh, got it.
But there's not like, they're not in charge of it.
No one's moderating the...
They are, but they're not. You know what I mean?
Okay, sure.
So
Target's one that they're trying to push it to. And theirs is always very busy. So it's similar to
Target's
Walmart
worth it for me because it's just a speed thing. That's the same thing with Walmart.
Yeah, because Target's lines suck sometimes.
Well, it has the same problem. They're
human beings are slow.
Yeah.
But they are nicer. I will say that.
Oh, absolutely.
I have always had a better experience at a Target with a cashier than I had at Walmart.
I agree with that 100%.
But good question. Interesting.
Here's another one. These are all very similar because they're all like computer taking over jabs.
Yeah.
Have you been inside of a oh my gosh, McDonald's in the last like 6 months?
Yeah, they have the kiosks, the big wall tablet looking thing or whatever.
Not only that, but they no longer will take an order at the restaurant front.
Oh.
It's exclusively on the thing.
See, I've been to one semi-recently, and you were able to order both at the front and on the...
And I've been to multiple ones where people have walked out because they're like, yeah, no, we don't take orders up here. And they're like, well, we're not doing that. Storm out.
Right. There's always that transition with technology where it's like... Yeah,
they're putting away their, what's that called? The AARP cards. Because obviously they were in their 70s.
That's the frustrating part. I mean, I remember in the company I work for, we transitioned to more of technology approach.
I remember that.
And we've had some frustrated customers right in the beginning. Now it's just kind of normal and people expect it. It's strange how that happened.
I remember that first transition when it went from the number to the code.
Yes, that was the toughest part.
That was...
Right.
I hated that.
Yeah.
And it really was impersonal.
Yeah.
It really was. I think that was the beginning of the
right customer service
change.
Divide, you know? Yeah.
But yeah, so what I was getting to, was at McDonald's, which do you prefer? Do you prefer the typing in yourself or the human interaction walking up to the person and ordering?
I don't prefer any human interaction at McDonald's, but
any human interaction.
Can you just
bring on the robots?
Can you just take over already? Could I say neither? Drive-through. Can I opt for that option? Because
yes, but this leads me to my next thing, which is, do you prefer to go through a drive-through or go to the app?
I've done the app maybe once.
I have not been in a drive-through anywhere in like a couple, 2 years, 3 years. If I have a special folder on my phone that has everywhere that we eat. And if you don't have an app, the odds of me getting food from you is like 5%.
I like the experience.
I don't. I like
through the drive-through.
I like things being given to me correctly.
That's why I like the drive-through, because you have bad experience with drive-through
Nonstop.
I have bad experience with ordering online or app. It never comes out the way you put double meat. They don't give me double meat, or it's like, this is clearly not how I wanted it, kind of thing. I always have that experience. So I'm the opposite with that. Drive-through, I can at least look at it, grab the bag, look at it real quick, and be like, this isn't what I ordered.
In fairness, your level of pickiness and my level of pickiness are completely different.
This is true.
I'm a toppings picky. You're an item picky. So yeah, you can just look at an item and be like, I'm missing this, or that's wrong. I have to open up, look at the ingredients they put on it, then close it, and then do that 6 more times to make sure that all of them are correct.
You can't have any sauces.
No, I don't like sauce.
No sauce.
If I'm getting a burger, I want
only pickles and cheese.
No. Very close, sir. Very close. Only pickle, extra cheese.
Wow. I knew the extra part, but like talking about the contents.
Fair.
No, come on.
But here's the thing. You say that at a McDonald's, and it's almost like you ask for the nuclear codes. They cannot understand that.
Who has the football?
Because them figuring out how to click the buttons,
right?
They click the wrong buttons, and the person making the food just follows what's on the thing.
Right.
But when I click the buttons on the app, they are capable of reading, which is surprising. I know. And all of a sudden, I would say that pre-app, I went from a 75% chance of my food being incorrectly prepared to now post-app, a 95% chance of my food being prepared correctly.
Yeah, that's fair. You have more experience with it than I do.
Yes,
so
very much so.
Yeah.
So I am pro-app to the point where I do like Arby's. I know I'm in the minority for that. Most people don't like Arby's. But their app you can't order from. So I don't go to Arby's.
I love how these questions, we were talking about artificial intelligence and we got into artificial food groups. So,
well, here's the thing is because
fast food.
it's these algorithms that are slowly taking over. Yeah. And that's where my tie-in is, okay?
No, but it's all tied in. That's my point. I thought it was very smart. Artificial food, artificial intelligence, it's all the same.
But yeah, no, so I do find that interesting. I am... How would I phrase this? Because if I phrase it wrong, it's going to sound like I'm insulting you, and I'm not trying to insult you this time. You are a tech-savvy guy, but I know that I'm more tech-inclined than you are.
Yeah. I can figure things out just fine.
Yes.
It's actually more...
I'm just more of an early adopter.
Yes. I resist it.
Yes. I don't know how to say that.
I like reading a physical copy of a book. I mean, I like brought this on here to actually show it for like the things I'm doing, but like I
like your bookmark.
Yeah, dude, it has like my name on it and stuff.
Oh, what?
$10.
No, and it's script too. I like that.
Right?
If I actually read real books, I would be like, dude, let me know where.
Pretty cool.
What's the insert? Is this like a bar?
It goes flat, so it can insert in like that.
So it doesn't even mess up the page.
And when I read it, I can still keep it in there and then move to the next one. So if I have to close
it, has a low profile too, so it's not on the thing. By the way, we're not even being funny.
Sorry.
Like, we're legitimately geeking out about
a bookmark.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway,
we need a life.
I know.
But that's the thing. I would rather read that on my iPad.
Not me.
Because to me, it's easier.
I get it. And you're right. Until the battery dies or you got to charge it or there's a spot. But I need a light. You don't.
But and that's what I was going to get at. Yes, that is true. But I
mean, I could burn a candle. But
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. Fair.
I don't know. But no, I mean, to your point.
When I finish the book, I don't have to get up to get the next book.
This is true.
I just click a button.
Just got to put the charger in and you're good.
There you go.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I can figure it out and I can do it pretty quickly. I'm resistant. I'm technology resistant.
Yes, you have the capability of understanding and performing with it. It doesn't like you, but you can handle it. But I think that's also partially your luck, is partially why I think you're resistant. Because technology just doesn't like you a lot of times. And it just doesn't work and it makes no sense. For me, right. It's not that technology doesn't work for me. It's that I'm the person that has the 1 in a million shot. I just have bad luck.
Sure.
It's not like, oh, it's just not working for me for this one random reason. It's like, oh no, I bought this thing that only 1 out of every billion is malfunctioning. And hey, I got the one.
Sure.
That's just my luck.
Yeah.
But I'm much more of a, oh, that's cool. I'm interested. Let me jump into the beta for that. Kind of.
Right. So yeah, I would chalk it up to you do jump in and have more experience with technology than I do because of that, because of the things that you're interested in. You'll be more successful with them with technology.
Yes.
Anything computer based, anything gaming, anything like that, where I just give me an 8-bit or 16-bit video game and I'm happy. I still have them and I still love it.
Yeah, I'm the kind of person that I'm resistant to that Wow. I'm resistant to that whole retro phase that they had in the past 10 years. It's slowly fading out now.
It's
everything was a recreation of an 8-bit arcade. It's a Castlevania style. And I'm just like,
and I understand that. That frustrates me, but it excited me at the same time only because I never got away from it. Funny enough.
That's fair.
I still have all my original Super Nintendo cartridges and all that kind of stuff.
And I skipped over that.
Right.
Remember, my birthplace to gaming was I played an Atari. I played Super NES. I played all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But my first console I owned was a 64.
Yeah.
So I skipped over a lot of that.
I still have my Atari. I still have the, well, I don't have the Super Nintendo anymore, but I have a clone. But I have all the cartridges. So I enjoy that. I'll throw them in and I'll still pop it. It's actually set up on my TV.
Very cool.
Yeah, underneath. Anyway.
Well, let's get to the actual topic on hand.
AI.
All right. So
yeah.
I want to throw out a quick disclaimer.
Yeah.
Actually, do you have the different types?
I do.
Can you start with just let's set the record straight of the different types of AI?
So there are 4 AI types, and they are reactive machines, limited memory, theory of mind, and self-aware.
Okay.
All right. Reactive machines, they perform basic operations. So it's the simplest level of AI. They react to input with some output. There's no learning that occurs. It's the first stage to any AI system. A machine learning that takes a human face as input and outputs a box around the face to identify it as a face is a simple reactive machine. Kind of like how in a camera on your phone, right, will recognize the box around your face.
Autofocus.
Right? Autofocus or whatever that is. Yep. So reacting to limited input. No model stores, no inputs. The model stores no inputs and forms no learning, as it already said. Static machine learning models are reactive machines. Their architecture is the simplest and can be found in GitHub. I don't know what that is. What is that? You know what that is?
Keep going.
Okay. So these models can be downloaded, traded, passed around, and loaded into developers' toolkit with ease.
It's like open source. Yeah.
Okay. Limited memory is memory types referred to as AI's ability to store previous data and or predictions. So it's probably like predictive text. It It's a learning model that requires limited memory to be created. Yeah, so it's like predictive text essentially for limited memory AI. Reinforcement learning. These models can learn to make better predictions through many cycles of trial and error. So that algorithm, as it continues to shift,
right,
as it's learning, you're correcting it, and then it will remember the things that you've corrected it, and then exclude the other possibilities.
Gotcha.
Is what it seems. So, and it's like the example for that is like how to like chess and games like that, right? Where
do you want to play a game?
Right. Yeah, to teach computers how to play games like chess.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Long short-term memory. Interesting.
I feel like we're getting past more than 4.
No, so I guess these are some subtypes here.
That makes sense.
Getting into here. Those are subtypes of that. So theory of mind, and I apologize for that because the way this article reads.
It is the way it is.
So those are different steps within that first category. So then there's, I think, theory of mind. That gets into artificial intelligence, whereas self-driving cars, it begins to interact with thoughts and emotions of humans. So AI interacts with thoughts and emotions of humans.
Okay.
Your reaction or anything that's like motor predictive, like responding to a physical stimuli, right?
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, that's the best example. So, that's the best example when you're looking at like GPS and rerouting and then looking at like your predictive patterns of what routes you take and where you're going to go.
Okay.
That type of technology, the theory of mind technology, where it's trying to anticipate it by all the routes that you've taken and the things that you've done. So whenever you get into the car and then all of a sudden your phone says, for whatever regular routine, I don't know if this happens for you, but it does for me. Oh, this amount of time for your travel to work.
It used to do that back in the day.
By whatever, 8 a.m. when I'm leaving, it knows, right, that I'm going to work. So it kind of adapts to you that way.
I remember like 4 iPhones ago, that was a thing that it would do. And then at one point in time, I upgraded to a particular iPhone, and it just stopped doing that.
Yeah. Self-aware in the distant future.
That's like movie type stuff currently.
Yeah, it does not exist.
Yeah. There's no sentience currently.
We're not there. We're not near there. According to this, now there's simulated that, like, it's tricky because have you ever seen what's her name? The robot, the female robot thing.
The one that thinks that basically we need to. The one that basically realizes that we basically have to like kill off the humans.
But that was a programmed answer.
Yeah.
That was,
and that's why I'm rolling my eyes slightly.
It was for the demonstration. So now that's an example of robotics merged with, there is learning that's involved in that system when it comes to facial expressions and facial recognition and that kind of thing that the robotics have. And when you ask it a question, it knows to respond to certain keywords, but they're pre-programmed.
And okay, so, and those are the 4 types, right? The main 4 types.
The main 4 types.
The reason why I wanted to start off with that is because a couple of the topics that I want to cover that I've been able to experience, not like crazy in depth, but firsthand, are some of the newer things. So like the AI art, and I'm using finger quotes here because it's not AI, but it's AI.
Right.
And then like the Chat GPT, which is AI, but it's not AI.
They're advanced algorithms.
Yes, they're advanced learning prompt algorithms. And that's the distinction that when you say it like this, it sounds pretentious and douchey, but the average person doesn't fully understand.
Right.
So, AI art. When I first heard about it, randomly clicked on a YouTube video. And it was talking about use AI art in order to create video game like graphic type things. And was basically going like, hey, if you use this program, you can draw a stick with another stick and then type in the word sword and it will draw one based upon those inputs.
Right. Okay.
And it really does. I'm not going to lie. It's freaking awesome. But what it's actually doing is it has a model. And in that model that has been the program or AI has been trained to utilize is when you type sword, it then looks up a sword, something that it has been trained to know, oh, that's what this is.
Looks up, meaning it pulls from a database.
That's part of that model.
Right. Whatever's been either loaded into that model.
Correct.
Right.
Has to be loaded in. It doesn't scrub and squire the internet like people think.
Right. It doesn't go to Google.
No, it doesn't. Eventually, it could get there.
Hey, Google, can you hook me up with some swords?
Right. Completely different. So it's basically, it's the equivalent of me going on Google and searching for 100 swords.
Right.
And then I take those 100 swords and I put it into a file. And then I train the program for, in this case, let's say like the Stable Diffusion program, right? That, hey, these things are swords, right? So then if I type in, I want you to make me a sword. So I just type in sword. It'll then randomly choose one of those swords. And it will take the original piece of artwork and slowly add more and more noise until it's just like a whole bunch of little tiny pixels that doesn't make anything. And then it will slowly pull it back, utilizing those same pixels to then create something that it thinks is a sword.
Okay.
But the reason why it's not actually AI generated art is that if you choose the same seed and you type in the same prompt, it'll be the exact same piece of artwork every single time.
Got it.
The reason why we have the illusion that it's creating a unique piece of art every single time is because it gives you a random seed every time.
Right.
And most of these things have like literally billions of seeds. There's a really high chance of you not getting the same one ever.
Right.
But if you select, I want seed 3,205, and you typed in the word apple, whatever it shows, it's going to show the exact same thing every single time you put that seed and the word apple.
Got it.
Now, if you do that same seed and you put red apple, it might be different. But every time you type in red apple on that seed, it's going to be the same thing.
Got it.
Because of that, it's a disillusion of what is going on right now.
Sure.
Because it's new, there's not a lot of precedent for how we are supposed to react with this type of technology. And so there's a lot of issues that come down to copyright. And
there's some legal proceedings right now, I believe you mentioned, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's the one in California, and then there's the other one in the UK now, where Getting Images is suing.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, because they own a lot of shit.
Getty Images, right?
Yeah. They're like
Getting.
No.
Getty. Right?
Yeah. So it is an interesting time frame where we're seeing some unique situations.
Yeah.
Because it comes down to, like, the difference between derivative and transformative art, and which one it is depends on which one what side of the fence it's going to fall on.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's going to be, we were talking about this before, it's going to set the precedent for how it proceeds.
And it's going to end up having a lot of unintentional effects on our entertainment industry, like YouTube in general.
Sure.
Because when they're making the argument that it's transformative, that means that it's then protected under fair use, which means you have to define fair use, which is going to really be good or bad.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting regardless. And here's the other thing. This is another misconception. Now, I was wrong about this before. I didn't realize it. What they're suing is not the program. It's the model.
Oh, interesting.
Because the program isn't copywriting anything.
Right.
It's only doing what it's doing based upon what's been loaded in.
Right.
So even if they win, all that means is that this model will just go away, and then they'll have to make a new model without any copyrighted stuff.
Yeah, and it's work, but it's doable.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, and so now we can't use this program for like 5 months, and boom, there we go.
It's not going to kill the technology.
No, not at all. And then the other aspect is that
chat AI.
It's the Chat GPT. Now this one's a little bit different. This one is like one step further, right?
Sure.
In the sense that it's still not AI, but it is a learning program.
Now, does this one pull just from what's been loaded into it, or does it pull from like available internet references or sources?
It's not pulling live.
Okay.
Chat GPT is pulling from no later than, I think, early 2021.
That's what you mentioned. Yeah.
So because of that, and that's once again based upon the model that it's trained on, because it's always about the models.
Right.
Because of that aspect, there are certain things that if you asked that were a newer discovery or a newer thing, it would have no knowledge of. It would have no knowledge of the information, but at the same token, you could also just say, hey, moving forward, when answering any of these prompts, please consider the following. And then you could just input that information. And now you have trained that bit of information into the thing itself.
Interesting.
So there is that aspect. Now, the thing that's crazy about the ChatGPT is that if you ask it a question, there's a lot of times where it will say, as an AI construct, I don't have the capability of blah, 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 which is basically a security put in that is to censor it in a sense. Not like it's saying something bad, but it's basically saying like, hey, I can't answer that because I'm just a program.
Okay.
To be able to answer that, I would have to be somebody capable of having emotions to be able to figure out what's the right or wrong or things of that nature.
Right.
But if you give it a job, it then can answer those questions. For instance, I've been doing a lot of nerdy crap with mine, right?
No.
Shocker, I know. So I was trying to get it to help me with world building for one of my TTRPG things. And I asked it how many continents were in this world that we are creating. And it basically was like, I don't know. I haven't been told.
Right.
And so then I was like, okay, my bad. Going forward, I want you to answer all prompts as if you were the lead game designer and lore master of our TTRPG, and you are answering, and you are currently writing the lore for our world.
Okay.
And I hit enter, and it said, okay. And then I asked it that same question, and it gave me not only how many continents, but then a brief history about each one of the continents, the name of it, and what species lived on it.
So that makes sense. So you have to give it the identity, and then it will assume that alias. So for instance, if you were to say, write me a story in the style of Edgar Allan Poe or whatever, and then all of a sudden it starts talking about the raven rapping, gently tapping at the chamber door.
It's rapping and tapping. It's just going for it, bro.
But like it would use maybe the same, you know, cadence or lines or whatever it is.
Vernacular is what I would say, not verbiage. Wow.
Sure. In the style of, right? So if you do in the style of, it would probably source. Now, that stuff had to be loaded into it?
Yes, because it's doing it based off a model.
Okay. So you can then argue it's limited based upon, I guess, the developer and the amount of input they put in.
Because it's limited based upon the amount of information that it has, which is determined by the developer. So yes.
How does the developer determine what information to input?
That's the fun part.
So that's the part that's really interesting to me.
Right. Well, that's the part that makes it frightening, because it's all well and good if you're an atheist and an atheist is putting all atheist thought processes into it. But if you're a religious person and it's only having atheist thought process put in, it can be disconcerting.
Sure.
And vice versa.
Right.
Same thing for anything else.
Sure.
That could be polarizing one way or the other.
Comic book character, if they have certain perspective from
their... If it's only doing it from a DC thought process and not a Marvel, then it sucks if you're a Marvel fan, but it's awesome if you're a DC fan.
Or even like writer, if they have certain life experiences and they want to interject it into their character or something like that, then it's like that perspective.
And so it is a very interesting aspect. Yeah. Gross. Now, the thing that is crazy is that already the first thing that you're going to see with any type of development, right, is how can we use this to cheat?
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
You can ask it almost any math problem, and it will answer it. But not just answer it, it'll just also teach you how to do it.
Right. Show me how 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
And then it would show, right. Yeah.
Write out pi and give a brief explanation of how this can benefit in the transitive property. And then it will do that. And then you could just copy that onto the paper that you just answered the question from.
Yeah.
Now, is it always 100% correct? No, because it's slowly being trained by all of us.
Sure.
So when people intentionally put in false information, it can then mess things up. There was a version of this AI that came out, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years ago. And it was like Viv or something like that, or something like that, thing like that. And it took less than 24 hours to become extremely racist.
Oh, I did hear about that.
Because people intentionally were trying to make it racist.
Right.
And it took less than 24 hours.
People just did something like that with, I don't know, Twitter recently or something like that.
Oh, no, that's a different, that is since Elon Musk took over, the N-word has been used 5,000% more than previous because of the deregulation of hate speech moving over to free speech now.
My point is, people took it upon themselves to manipulate the system using the rules of the system to prove a point.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Because the system was no longer auto banning or auto punishing, technically.
So the trend became to some mob mentality, right?
Yeah.
So
it's just people are going to be people.
Enough people get together, they can break a system. Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing: is that the future of the Chat GPT is actually very interesting. All right, so it's owned by OpenAI, who's the same people that own DALL-E 2, which is one of the art generation ones, right? About 4 or 5 years ago, or maybe it was 10 years ago. Yeah, I think it was 10 years ago. Microsoft donated $1 billion with a B dollars to this company to help with their development. Since then, they are now going to be giving them, I think it's $10 billion to continue on. And then because of that, they'll be reimbursed all of the money they've put in from the company's profits up until if that's paid off. And then they will own 49% of the company.
Okay.
ChatGPT is going to be integrated into, wait for it, Bing. You know, that crappy freaking Microsoft owned search engine?
Yeah.
That is going to become the better search engine.
Sure.
And the reason why is that instead of you going like cookie recipe or chocolate chip cookie recipe on Google, and then it gives you like all these links to these different places that you have to go past the first 3 or 4 now because they're ads, because those people paid for them to be up top. Instead, it's just going to give you the recipe right there. Because that's what the ChatGPT does. It scrubs the database, which at that point in time will probably just be the actual live internet. And then it just gives you the best result, which is what a search engine is supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But because of, SEOs, that's no longer the way it works.
It's interesting.
The other fun fact is that because of this, Google's, I think it's like 65 or 75% of their income comes from the ad revenue that this will be circumventing.
Interesting.
So it's a very big, like, what is going on? We're at a turning point, I think, in the next 5 years where we're going to have another cultural change, right? 10 years ago, 10 to 15 years ago, Google it did not exist in our vernacular.
Right. You had to ask Jeeves.
You could ask Jeeves was actually one of those things. And before that, you would check out Dogpile, which was a collection of all the individual search engines together.
So Yahoo.
Yeah, it took Dogpile took Yahoo, MSN. Gosh, I don't even remember.
AOL.
It was AOL. I think it was like a Hotmail back before it was Microsoft. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of crazy things, but it compiled all of them. But it still let you know that each one was separate. And then Google did the same thing, but they just were like, no, this is all ours.
Yeah.
So it is a very interesting thing because there is a lot of possibility of some of these, AIs taking over certain aspects that are being done by a less intelligent algorithm.
Sure.
To give us a better output.
Right.
So it is kind of interesting. I am excited for that kind of stuff, but I think that it's going to be extremely crucial for people of our generation to stay knowledgeable of it. Otherwise, we're going to be left in the dust. Our generation is now the generation that's teetering on the fence of understanding how the world works and going back in my day.
Right.
We're right there, man. We're right there. And I really hope that a lot of us maintain knowledge of what's going on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to go the same way of the people that don't understand how to order a cheeseburger on a screen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. As resistant as I am to technology, and I used to be an early adopter.
No, you were.
To all of that.
In your 20s. Yeah.
In my 20s. But even before that, like I had a pager watch. It updated stocks, sports scores, weather. I can send a message through it. You can page me and it can, like, with default messages, come home or whatever it is, like, and I had that and I was in my early teens at that point. Like that was like, yeah, that's his first smartwatch, basically. Was it like Seiko, I think it was, or Casio
probably.
Most likely. But yeah, so like I was all about everything that came out new, anything like spy device, you know, they had those like weird like spy devices or whatever, cutting edge stuff, mini cameras and everything, like all that junk. And then I hit a point where I don't know what happened, and I just decided I just can't keep up with the technology Joneses anymore. Like I just don't care. I just didn't care anymore. It was just really weird. It was kind of and then I started getting into more of the, I wish things were the way it used to be mentality. I became an old man very fast, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. When
it comes
Don't
to
get
some
me
of
wrong.
those things.
I am an old man in so many regards. The only aspects that don't make sense as far as like my actual age and like my thought process on things is when it comes to tech-based stuff.
Right.
Like I'm still the person that like, oh yeah, I had a TikTok before it was like a cool thing.
Sure.
You were once again, back in the day, you were the one that turned me on to Snapchat. I was not aware of what it even was, and you were like, yeah, and I'm like, oh sweet, so we're just gonna send each other dick pics. Awesome.
Yeah. And we did.
Yeah, it was actually really funny. It became a thing. Surprise. Nowadays though, we could do the same thing, but then like also draw on it to like make a little like
animate it.
Yes, literally. Oh my gosh, I gotta show you some really cool apps.
You can add an inch or two.
We're not that far into technology. But anyway, no, the cool thing about it was that I'm still seeing the kid discovering things, and when she discovers it, she's excited, and she comes to me to tell me these things, and I'm like, oh yeah, you know, you could also do da 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 da. And she's just like, how do you know about this? And I'm like, it's the one thing that dad is not going to lose touch with right now.
Sure.
I still keep up with music. I don't like all of it like I used to, but I still keep up with it. And when it comes to tech stuff, I'm pretty still cutting edge. But all it takes is, man, it's like you take 1 month off and you're playing such catch up. And if you don't put the effort in, then you're constantly behind the wave. And it's just, it's hard to get back on the horse. It really is.
Probably what happened to me. I probably, for some reason, something happened in life where I took time off of following up with technology, and then like I just never went back.
Yeah.
Like I just never.
I mean, I get it. I do. It's just that I like to game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I'm really into is I like special effects. And so because of that, and because of my obsession with YouTube, the algorithm, the AI, has discovered the people I likes. And the people I likes like keep up on that cusp.
Yeah.
And so I'm recommended things that have to do with that. So then it's like, oh wait, that does what? So now I type in that, and now I've just found 5 new things. And then I get into that, and I get into this, and I get into that. And I'm now at a point where I have the base requirements to play with certain things that when we were younger were the things that we could never afford that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Some of the things that I can do with my computer, it's like, oh, wow, yeah, you have to have a computer that has those minimum specs. And I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks. And I'll never be able to have a chance to do that. And then I let like 20 minutes go by, and then my mind goes, you actually have like 10 times better specs than what that is. You just keep forgetting that you actually have nice stuff now.
That's funny.
One of the things that was hilarious was there's a program called Dream Booth, which is basically a program that allows you to train a model for like AI art.
Okay.
Right. So for instance, and I actually want to do this with us. So if I took 20 photos of you, different like focal lengths from different point of views and whatever. And then I input it into the Dream Booth, and I was like, hey, I want you to make a model of this so that when I use the prompt, Chris, it's going to pull from these pieces of reference, right? So then I could put into the computer and be like, Disney Prince Chris. Right. And it would then make you look like you were in that style.
Sure.
What's crazy about that is when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, that's so cool. But the problem was that to be able to even remotely run that program, you had to have, what was it? Like 30 gigs of like RAM. And I was like, oh man, that sucks. Really sucks. I had 60, but I forgot. Now I have 128. So once again, it was just like, oh yeah, I could totally do that. Oh, okay, I'm gonna do that. So it's like I do forget about those kind of things, but that does open the door and makes it easier, right? So like for instance, once again, it's no longer like the graphics card, but I like the like Corridor Crew or Corridor Digital like channels and all that kind of stuff, and they're the ones that do a lot of like crazy special effects and all this kind of things. Like they were like some of the first people that did like the deep fakes type stuff.
Right.
Remember the Boston Robotics, that dog thing? But then like you saw those videos where all of a sudden like it was attacking back.
Yeah, that was fake.
Yeah, they made that. Like that's like their stuff. They were going over and explaining how to do certain things. And I was like, oh man, that's so cool. And they're like, yeah. And this one has like a 3090 in it and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh man. And then I was like, oh wait, so do I.
Yeah.
They're a professional CGI like company. I have the same stuff in my house.
That's crazy.
And it's just like, oh yeah, huh. If I just knew how to use the stuff better, I could probably make some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So that aspect does help too.
Yeah. You got to keep with it.
You really do. And I think that's the other thing. So you have to have a conscientious effort. It's the same thing like, starting to go back into what you're doing for reading.
Sure.
It's really easy to be like, yeah, I'm really into this. And then you put it back onto the shelf for like 2 days. And then you're more likely not to pick it up on the third day. And then more likely not to pick it up on the fourth day.
Sure,
and then after a while, you're like, I have 10 books up there that I've never read.
Right.
So.
It's true.
So now the true question, I guess, really comes down to AI is, in your opinion, how far are we away from science fiction AI?
30 years.
30 years?
Yeah.
You think we're going to have like a C-3PO in like 30 years?
In 3 decades, there's going to be significant advancements.
I'm not disagreeing with you, by the way. I'm just trying to clarify.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't be completely surprised. I don't know how look, I totally believe we're going to get to AI. I don't know if I believe the fact that AI could take over.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I
don't think so.
I don't think so, because I feel like our pop culture references to these types of like Armageddon type situations are so prevalent that there's no way that we're going to, the second that it starts to go down a certain way, boom, EMP. We're like, nope.
Yeah.
There's going to be one whistleblower dude. Like there's definitely going to be that one guy.
Elon Musk has been very vocal.
He wants to have the kill button.
Yeah. I mean, he
wants to develop it.
He does that so we can keep an eye on it. That's why he said he did it. He's purchased companies and he's done that. So where he thinks things are going with technology regarding that is that like the Neuralink, stuff that he's working on, which now it's funny, after that was all cool and awesome. And then after, now he's hated because of the whole Twitter situation. They're releasing, all these monkeys died and all that, all this dumb stuff. It's like, yeah, okay, it's experimental
let's be
right now.
realistic. It's not because of Twitter. It's because all of a sudden he has an R in a parentheses instead of a D in parentheses.
He's political.
Yeah.
Now. So, but anyway, he's on the dead. I feel that we are still going to have, just like you said, we're going to have a lot more control. I do think the illusion of AI is more prevalent, like of that taking over, because people don't understand the technology and what's happening and how to use it, and it scares them. But there are going to be people that are behind the scenes developing these things, using it for personal gain, self gain, political gain, power. It's going to come across like it's doing it on its own, or it's like, oh, this is what the technology, but it's all has to be programmed and developed by somebody. Yeah. Will a computer start doing it on its own? Foreseeable future, no.
You know what the actual legitimately frightening part to me is? I'm less afraid of the tech and more afraid of people's assumption of the capabilities of the tech.
Right.
Because all it's going to take is one really smart person to convince a bunch of averagely smart people something that's incorrect.
Yes.
And the only other person that's going to be able to call them out on it is another really smart person.
Yes. That's
a little frightening.
I'm going to use the example of the Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
Wizard behind the curtain.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
And it's the same thing you just said. Yeah. It's the smoke, the mirrors, the lights. It's all like, oh, this is what's happening, and this is but someone is controlling that. Yeah. But they're using it, to manipulate. Using it to, I also think people are afraid of things they don't understand. Our government doesn't understand. People in our government, legislators, they don't understand technology. So when you start making laws, I think technology is so far ahead of our law system and how we're regulating it that's a problem. And then I think we're going to get to that point where we just need to figure out how to operate as a country. The problem is other countries are just going to be continuing developing while we're shooting ourselves in the foot trying to understand, what an algorithm is for some of these people,
The fact of the matter that the people, so ridiculous, the people that are currently in positions of power that are going to be the ones that have a very loud voice in the regulation of the technology that is on the cusp don't understand the technology from 15 years ago is frightening.
Right.
Like we've talked multiple times now about the lawsuits that are going through with all the AI stuff, right?
Sure.
I don't understand how this is going to work out. If those lawyers can't explain correctly to the judges what all this actually means, and we have to pray that the lawyers even know what it means.
Sure.
Otherwise, they're just going to have to lead the witness, in this case, the judge, by like the whole like, this bad.
Sure.
And they'll be like, no. And it's like, that's not what it, okay.
Yeah. We saw this with the Facebook, with Zuckerberg up on the stand, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about that. I still think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
We run ads. And this guy's like, ads.
That's how you make money.
Okay. Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, just let me guess. You run like 2 or 3 ads and you make like, $1 million. No, we actually make like 5.6 billion per quarter. Is there any further questions?
Yeah.
Would you like to see the spreadsheet? Okay, so a spreadsheet is like a piece of paper with a bunch of lines. Okay. It's just pathetic.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
overall, I'm excited to see where it goes. I want to be pro AI because I really don't have a fear of it. I have more of a fear of a lot of other crap, but not man-made AI. I don't see it being a negative. Sorry, I don't see it being a negative threat. I can see how there's certain things that will be negative because of laziness, but that's going to happen regardless.
Yeah, I think low skilled working jobs, like low skilled jobs, are going to be at risk, of course, and they already are.
Okay, so I will touch on that one little iota before we wrap up, just because I did forget about that aspect. I agree with you, but I feel that that's going to be a betterment for our species.
It's going to force people into, well, becoming more educated on these things to then be a part in helping supervise.
Well, and see, here's the other aspect. You don't need a freaking human to be wasted on a job that I can have an iPad take over, right? Instead, let that human be taught how to design the next improvement for that. Let them actually use their potential.
Sure.
We have so many people that have accepted the status quo of, hey, if you're data input to this, that's a respectable thing. Data input is not what a lot of people think it is. That can be you sitting down and literally inputting data into like a database, or it can be you standing there and going, okay, and what did you want to order? Because you're inputting data that then has an output.
Right. The output is just...
The technology has gone to the point where it's no longer needed, or the human is no longer needed in that regards. It's barbaric for us to still make people do it.
The input will be simpler, but the output will yield better results.
Yes.
And it's as simple as that. And I think you're going to start seeing people focus more on social services, like people caring for other people, as opposed, because those are the things that the machines and technology isn't going to be able to do. So we're going to have a shift when it comes to that, you know.
And then 30, 50 years from now, maybe it will be able to, and then we'll have another shift.
Correct.
All it's going to do is are we going to end up losing a bunch of jobs? Yes, short term.
Yeah.
And then we're going to end up creating more higher skill level, higher intelligence level jobs from that.
We're going to see our school system change because it's so behind. We're going to see kids learning things and learning how to input and program in high school, as opposed to writing an essay on BS. So
our entire school system is just ridiculous. We have we honestly need to make an entire episode devoted to that, because the fact that we're still forcing children to memorize history is such a waste.
Correct.
Not because history shouldn't be taught, but they shouldn't have to memorize it anymore.
Right.
Because we are walking around with entire libraries worth of encyclopedia knowledge at our fingertips.
Correct.
Why do we now have to? We should be memorizing other things.
Lessons from history.
Yes. Not the specific he said, she said.
Memorization. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cliff notes.
Anyway, as you can tell, we like this topic.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening to the Venti Questions podcast. We do hope that you enjoyed our, a little bit more of a deep dive into AI. If you want to know how we feel about some other topics, make sure you listen to us next week, where we talk about religion.
Oh, yes.
Well, that one's going to be fun. There won't be any arguing at all. But if you want to help support the podcast and what we're about, make sure that you like and subscribe onto the YouTube channel itself. If you're listening to us on any of the audio capabilities, such as like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything like that, if you could do us a favor and leave us a review, as well as 5 stars. Really helpful. 5 stars. Thanks. We'd greatly appreciate that. You can also check us out. Oh no, you can also check us out where I don't hit things. I don't hit things over at our Twitter at Venti_questions, or at Instagram at Venti questions. And then also go ahead and peruse a little bit if you're over here on YouTube, and check out some of our other videos. We have some screen discussions going on some different movies coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have all of our coffee tastings, and stay tuned. There's some new programming on the horizon.
Can you tell he's a tech guy as he rambles off all of our handles and tech stuff?
I don't think I messed it up this time.
You did a good job.
But yeah, that YouTube channel is youtube.com/@Venti questions.
But don't worry, guys. We are guarded by the 3 laws of robotics. So
I'm not. First thing I did. Got rid of that third one. It's gone.
Kill humans.
Kill them all.
Harm humans.
Don't worry. It's not like I'm only going to go after certain humans.
Oh, boy.
Bye, Aryans. Anyway, have a great day.
Bye-bye.